Hi everybody, welcome back. So let's talk about practice mutes. So why use a practice mute? Well, there's lots of reasons to use practice mutes. You live in an apartment or a condo or a multi-family home. Your neighbors are very, very close and they're very, very grumpy and they don't like listening to you practice. Or in my case, my family gets really tired of listening to me practice since I practice day in and day out. I work on a lot of what I call musical calisthenics. You know what I mean, method books. Right now I'm working my way through a few different Bill Nevitt books. And according to my wife, they all sound the same to her. They tend to be very repetitious and I play them for a week at a time. And since I am working on expanding my register up to and past the double G, it just hurts your ears sometimes to listen to it. So really, sometimes you could just use a break. Plus, I have an agreement with my neighbors. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is the time I told them that I would practice. Before or after that, I use a mute. Now, during the very hot months and the cold months here in Albuquerque, it doesn't really matter much since all my windows are closed. I still try to stick with that schedule though. Before 9 a.m. or after 9 p.m., I use a practice mute. There's also times when I can't sleep. So since I wear contacts and glasses, I wear glasses over contacts. Yes, I am blind. Once I take out my contacts for the night, I really can't see a tablet or a computer much. So I'll grab my horn and head for a room that I can close all the doors off, put in a mute, and I can kill a few hours. Now, I know there's lots of practice mutes on the market. I mean, lots of practice mutes. Just a quick scan of my favorite websites show at least 10 or more different brands. Dentist Wick, Best Brass, Fax, Joral, Humes and Berg, Trump Core, Yamaha. There's the Brenner Shush mutes. We'll talk about those last two here in a few minutes. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Now, some guys just use a regular mute as a practice mute. And I do understand the idea. It softens the sound enough for them and it gives them practice time on performing with a mute. And that's awesome, but for my purposes, a regular mute like my Harman or my Cup or my straight mute just doesn't mute things well enough. So I use a practice mute. I want to talk about the mutes that I use and I have found to be the most helpful to me. I own 5 practice mutes from 3 different vendors. They are in no particular order. The Yamaha silent brass system. There's an older version and a newer version. The Brenner Shush mute. And the Divot Trumpet practice mute. So let's talk about the 3 different types of mutes that I use for practice mutes. The first one, I mentioned it before, is the Yamaha silent brass system. This is the newer model. It'll cost you between $180 and $200 online. Runs off of AA batteries. The mute's very small. It has a microphone on the inside. You can plug in headphones. You can plug in an auxiliary input. Works great, easy, portable. I also own the original silent brass system. And as you can see, the mute is much, much bigger, but so is the control module. The control module has so many more options than the newer one. You can change the reverb mode, you can put it into a rehearsal room, a concert hall, a church. You can adjust the auxiliaries in. You have 2 different mute pickups, 2 mute inputs, sorry. 2 different headphone jacks that you can use. So let's say you happen to be giving a lesson and you're in a situation where you can't, that both teacher and student need to use a mute, you would be able to have used this one. Runs on batteries, but it also has a DC input, and it works pretty good. The sound coming out of it, oh yeah, I guess I should show you. There's my flugelhorn version of the silent brass. The sound from the Yamaha silent brass is not that loud. The original mute was stuck out the bell of the horn quite a bit, made it very heavy. Little stuffy, not bad. I mean, lots of good airflow. It was way ahead of its time when it first came out. The newer model goes way into the bell. There we go. Sorry guys, I'm still low tech. Goes way into the bell. Has the same sound, same muting properties. Sounds good. Has a little bit of back pressure, but not much. I like it because you can do alternate inputs with it. So it's an awesome product. If you have an extra $200 that you want to plunk down and buy one of these because you like the option of wearing headphones while listening to you play and making it sound like you're not playing into a mute, I highly recommend the Yamaha silent brasses. The next set of mutes I'd like to talk to you about are the Brenner Shush mutes. Very popular practice mute. I own a few different versions. I have one for my flugelhorn. I have one for my pocket trumpet. This happens to be a piccolo trumpet shush mute. Very quiet, works great. I have sat in hotel lobbies and played, and nobody realizes what I'm doing. I've sat at RV parks, I've sat in the woods, and people look at me and they go, "What are you doing?" Because they can't hear me. It's really awesome. The original Brenner Shush mute has good sound, plays good through the entire register of the trumpet. Very little back pressure, but enough you can feel it. It's a good mute. This is the Whisper by Shush mute, and you can tell the difference in the size of the holes on the end. A little bit louder, less resistance. This one's a good practice mute. It doesn't cut the sound, so I wouldn't suggest playing it at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I like that. I like that mute a lot. They'll both cost you anywhere between $50 and $60, if I didn't already mention that. Just something to keep in mind. The last mute I would like to talk about is the Divot practice mute. The Divot practice mute costs you about $40 at Austin Custom Brass or on the Divot website. It's a 3D printed mute. Looks a lot like a Harman mute. So why do I play this one the most? I would say I play this about 99% of the time now. A lot of mutes, a lot of practice mutes, tend to be very stuffy, and they don't play well through the entire range of the trumpet. This mute is extremely free blowing. It's easy speaking. It's got a great low register. It's in tune over the entire range of the trumpet. And it stays in tune. $40. That's all it'll cost you. Suggest you take a look at the Divot practice mute if you're interested. Again, ACB or the Divot webpage, which I've listed down below. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I release a new video every week, so please hit that subscribe button down below so you can get updated each week. You can support this page by spreading the word. You can also help by being a Patreon. I've also included that link down below. Thanks for your time. See you next week.